this lecture is the producer in sustainable theatre companies. And working in a sustainable manner is probably the best way for artists to really get their work out there. Before I actually talk about what I think makes up a sustainable organisation, what makes it a healthy organisation, and how a producer can actually assist that, I want to talk a little bit about what I think the motivations that underlie different kinds of companies are. I think it's important to understand that when any of us steps into the making of creative work in the context of a company, we are motivated for a number of different reasons. And many companies can be defined by the motivation that creates those companies in the first place. And broadly speaking, I tend to think of them as a group of about 5 different types of company. I think the first one is relatively easy, and I think of companies that are motivated by policy. The second kind of company, I think relatively easy to understand, is companies that are motivated by profit, by desire to make money, commercial companies. The third grouping I will talk about is companies that are driven by social need, by the fact that somebody has identified a social need and is trying to address it. The next grouping is one of the companies that I've already slightly talked about, would be artist-led companies. So there's clearly a single, possibly more than a single, artist whose vision leads that company forward. Finally, I think the final group I would call, which is coming back to your point, is companies which are driven by the cultural identity of the people who create the company. I think it's very, very important that when we come to think about companies, and when we think about the identity of companies, when we think about how that identity can be brought into the world, that we understand the underlying motivations for the artists and the practitioners who come together to make those companies. So I want to come back now to this issue of sustainability. What is a sustainable company? What are the features of a sustainable company? And I think there are a number of features that you can identify that make up a sustainable organisation. And I think those features they are a sense of stability around the company and a sense of security for those people engaged with the company. And when I say the people engaged with the company, I mean more than just the artists. A capacity to innovate work. That's absolutely crucial for any sustainable organisation. The company needs to create new things on a regular basis to be able to innovate. A company that can maintain the quality of the work. Again, if you cannot continue the quality of work at a certain level, the people around that company and the people within that company will start to disappear. A recognisable structure and a recognisable plan. This is a key feature. And finally, the ability to adapt. All of these things are key to a company remaining sustainable over a long period of time. So by me, the really key role of a producer, particularly a creative producer in a company, is to be the guardian of those things that keep the company sustainable. It's not necessarily possible for the artistic director to always be concerned about the stability of the company. There are times when an artistic director needs to do something else, needs to be able to change their mind. But a producer has to be the guardian of the stability of the company. So it's the role of the producer to face into the company to ensure that the values of the company are maintained. It's also the role of the producer to face out into the world, so there is a consciousness within the company of what is going on in the world outside. And for me, the role, therefore, of the producer is as a facilitator and a negotiator between these two areas. There are pretty much 3 areas where the producer has to facilitate those negotiations. So it's a range of understandings between different groups that a producer has to negotiate. In the first place, what we've always done is talking to the artist and discovering what are the shared values, what are the aims of the artist with whom one is working. And this is really, because you have to start at this point, where I would argue that it's really important that the producer is one of those core practitioners in any company. You also need to talk to the artists who may come in and out of the company from time to time. you have to have a form of negotiation, a form of understanding with those other artists, because they need to know when they join you, maybe for one project, what it is they're joining. The importance of the producer, I think, in this territory is that the producer kind of has a role to create the circle in which this discussion and this negotiation takes place. It is very often the case that a producer who arrives to a company late or arrives to a company when a project's already running will misunderstand that project and will misrepresent that project to whether it's festivals, venues, to an audience. I think the discussion amongst the circle of practitioners is something that we all do. It happens all the time, and it's not particularly surprising. Where I think discussions and negotiations and agreements and understandings are not necessarily done is in the other two areas that I wanted to talk about. And that is, what is the negotiation between the company and its audience? I think there are two areas in which this falls into. Clearly, we have audiences that already come to the work, and we need to understand who those audiences are and what they're looking for when they come to our work. Similarly, maybe as a company, that we've decided that there are other audiences we would like to come to our work, but don't currently come. When you think about how are we going to encourage those audiences to come, now the only way you can do that is to understand those audiences, to understand their needs, and to understand what motivates them to come to work. And the producer's job when it relates to the audience is to understand the audience, is to develop a whole range of knowledge about the audience. Now, so for instance, a company might think about, we would like to do some work for a children's audience. And the producer needs to know, well, what is it that a young people or a children's audience needs in order to go and see theatre? What is it that they are looking for? Now, in truth, the people who bring children to theatre are in fact teachers and parents. Children, in fact, do not make decisions about what theatre they go and see. So a producer, if you decide as a company that you want to be working with children, you need to know what parents and teachers are looking for, what the needs of parents and teachers are. Now, the key role of the producer is to completely share and hold, be the guardian of the values of the company, but at the same time to totally understand the needs of the other people out there. And this becomes even more important when you start to talk about the third group of people with whom the producer has to negotiate, the stakeholders. So I tend to think that the supporters, or the term I use, stakeholders, for any company, tend to fall into four groups. They're fairly straightforward. There is statutory funders, commercial sponsors, and commercial supporters, with charitable organisations or non-governmental organisations. Finally, there of course are some individuals out there who have money and are prepared to support you. But again, you need to understand what their needs are. So if I were to sum up really shortly what I think a creative producer ought to be doing, it would be a creative producer is somebody who has a really wide knowledge of the needs that are out there in the world and has a completely shared set of values with the practitioners with whom they work. It's 6:20. I thought this would be a good moment for a break, but before that, whether there were any questions you'd like to ask about what I've already said.
And also, if you can let us know how do you identify those needs, how you approach.
It's the producer's job to spend a lot of time out there in the world, actually talking to people, reading material, researching, and finding out what exactly it is people need. Whether that's an audience, I would do. Personally, but my marketing person does a huge amount of research into our audiences, who they are, where they come from, how much money they have, what age they are, what is their cultural background, how far do they travel to see a show, how often do they come to see shows, all this kind of material. Similarly, I've been doing a lot of research around potential supporters. So, for instance, if I go through a town, and I see theatre posters and things like this, I'll be seeing who's sponsoring those things. I'll be seeing where they're getting their funding from. And I may be going back and doing some research about those things later. most organisations, not all, but most organisations, if you work hard enough, you can find out that they have written down somewhere what their needs are, what they actually want through their arts giving or their arts money. Okay, we're back. What I want to talk about in this sort of second half, if you like, is the centrality of the identity of the company, and then how you use that to achieve what you're seeking to achieve. Again, I think for me this is really about the big picture of what a producer's role is to facilitate the creation of a clear identity for a company, a clear set of aims and objectives, and then finding a model which moves that forward. The reason I want to talk about mission is because I think without a clear understanding of what a company's mission is, it's not only difficult for the company itself to make sure that it follows that path carefully and follows that path with integrity, but also I think it's impossible for people outside of the company, your audiences, your stakeholders, to actually understand what your company does. It's kind of useful to have somebody who will actually ask these questions of the people who come together in a circle to create a company. Why are you here? What is it you want to do? What is it you want to achieve? These are questions that it's often difficult for perhaps the practitioners who have their heads into the work quite rightly to ask these questions. And it's very useful to have a producer with that type of person to actually facilitate and be the asker of those questions. There isn't a great division in my mind between the skills of an artist and the skills of a producer. At a certain point in time, any grouping of artists really ought to be able to express their vision, express their aims and objectives, express their identity in a statement. And that statement must be something that everybody can stand by, that there is consensus around, that there is democratic support for that statement, that it doesn't come from one person, it comes from the whole of the group. It comes to the place of message, where the message is exchanged, whether it's between you and an audience, whether it's between you and a potential audience, whether it's between you and a donor, a ticket buyer. The mission statement is the key transaction. And I would argue that statement should be as specific as you can possibly make it. Generalized statements are not really helpful for people outside of your organization. If I'm thinking about going to a restaurant, I'm not looking just for a restaurant. I'm looking for a restaurant that serves a particular kind of food and that has a particular kind of quality around that food, or maybe has a particular atmosphere food. I'm always looking for something specific. Audiences and supporters are not looking for the general. And it's important to do all the work to make sure that you really believe in that statement. For instance, I don't particularly want to go to a restaurant on one day and go like, oh, it's an Italian restaurant and I can eat Italian food, and when I come back 2 days later it's serving curry. So while an artist and an artistic director has an absolute right to change their mind, that should not necessarily mean they change the entirety of the company or the mission statement. It's because if you wish to be sustainable and if you wish to still be making work in 5 years' time or 10 years' time, you need to be consistent. You need to hold on to some key values. From developing this as a mission statement, it's relatively easy to move into the next place, which is to create a brand. Something that consistently represents this statement. Something that shows your work in this way and that other people can recognize. So particularly as a producer, you need to take a lot of care around. Because the brand represents the mission represents the values. We have guardianship of the brand. And on the other hand, we need to look at what I talked about earlier, the needs of the people out there in the world, the needs of our audiences and the needs of our supporters. Focusing around those needs is what I would call positioning, is an understanding of what it is that people need out there and how you can place yourself so that they come to you to fulfill that need. If, for instance, as I said, UNESCO becomes interested in looking at traditional music, you should make sure as a producer that they're aware that you're using traditional music in your work. This is not about going to UNESCO and saying, give me some money to do traditional music. This is simply about creating awareness and creating positioning. Nothing you've done has changed the artistic credibility of the company. Nothing you've done has necessarily shifted the aesthetics of the company. But what you have done is you've positioned yourself to face a whole new sector of audience and a whole new sector of supporters and stakeholders. By positioning rather than chasing after money. After a certain amount of time, if you chase after this pot of money here, and this pot of money over here, and this pot of money over here, and this pot of money over here, you suddenly go, we don't know what we're doing any longer. We no longer have a mission. We no longer have an identity. And at that point, what happens to companies is they fall apart. So this is not about changing the nature of the company. It's about agreeing with the nature of the company and recognizing its potential. So the role of producer is to take that brand and position it in the right place. And then what happens is people start to come to you, whether it's audiences coming to you because they enjoy the work, whether it's supporters coming to you because their needs are going to be met by you. And that is the point at which you, as a producer and as an organisation, can start to exploit those opportunities. I think it's very, very important that we stop seeing exploitation as a negative term and see it as about taking opportunity that comes to you. Suppose just to round all this up, what I'm really trying to talk about is the idea that the positive role of a producer is of somebody who is rooted in the heart of the company. And that is where a producer can do most good. There are many, many, many stories of producers who have done awful things for companies. And I would argue that's because those producers are brought in at the wrong time, they're the wrong people, and the circumstances and the tools that they have been given are the wrong tools. And then all the art goes out the window and these terrible monsters will come along and destroy the beautiful artistic credibility of this company. You get somebody who's the wrong person and you get them to come very late and you put a hammer in their hand, yes, they will destroy it. But I hope, possibly see there's another way of doing it.
Building theater itself?
No, I don't think so. I think the important thing is to have, as I said, a mission, a concept. Then you find out whether your concept requires a space or doesn't require a space. There's a company you may possibly be familiar with called the Chumleys, and they're a contemporary dance company in the UK. They don't have a space. But they perform in big theatres, but they also perform at Glastonbury Festival. Obviously on an open stage, a huge crowd of people. And the reason they do that is because they want the audience to go